What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Luke Mind Power Show. I got an extraordinary guest with me today. She's from the UK. It's a blessing to have Leona with me today. I am super excited for this episode. I know that it's going to be absolutely transformational. And if you're tuning in live on Facebook, welcome. This episode is episode number 104. Again, testament to my consistency of continuing to show up and spread more light and love and awareness in terms of you stepping into your brilliance, stepping into your greatness, living your best life, and really reconnecting with your inner power, because your inner state is a pure reflection of your external reality. And I know that Leona is going to share some powerful wisdom. So welcome to the Luke Mind Power Show, Leona.
Hi, thank you very much. And thank you for having me.
It's a blessing. Seriously. The universe aligns things. And that's why I say, let me just go straight to my Telegram. There is I think it's on my, let me check this GIF that I have. And it says exactly something that I love reading. And it says, the universe does this thing where it aligns you with people, things, and situations that match the energy you put out. The more you improve yourself and raise your vibration, the more you will see things that are beneficial to your well-being. And I feel like that's exactly how we connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say as well, first off, I absolutely love the work you're doing. And I think you're really, you're not even just providing a service, but making yourself vulnerable as well, and putting yourself out there and being authentic as well. And that's something that the world needs right now. So I want to say thank you for that, and how excited I am as well to be on as well. To be on the show. Yeah.
I do. I appreciate that. You know, the word that triggers my heart when you speak, what you just shared, was vulnerability. And I've learned that vulnerability is a secret superpower. It's very hard for many men from the masculine side of things, to be vulnerable, to open your heart. But it's the truth that's sitting inside that most of us are covering. We're afraid of that truth. We're afraid of exposing, taking off the mask and revealing who it is that we really are and what we're really afraid of. And you know, that's what I do now, is just, man, vulnerability is the key. You know, the more that I can show up in my truth, I know that there's people that are secretly listening and also wanting to access that vulnerability and show up, because it hurts to not be able to be afraid. And like, I think about myself, I was like running away from me for many years, you know, and I was like, man, the person that's missing in your life was you. Like, you're constantly, you know, fueling yourself with external things to give you that happiness and validation that you're good enough, I'm enough. But it was me looking in the mirror and connecting with myself, which was the key, and self-love. And that's the activation of your greatness, you know? So let's talk about that. Or let's, you know, give me a little bit of a rundown actually of how you have evolved, so people can kind of just understand who you are and what you do, and you know, where your place is in this universe right now.
So first off, I'm a singer-songwriter, and an artist, a painter, and I started out from a place, just to make the story really short. I knew that I wanted to do music, and you'll see how this ties in. I knew that I wanted to do music when I was a young child, but there were so many things that seemed to get in the way. My parents wouldn't let me go to music college. My parents were extremely religious after my grandmother died. And there were so many things that stopped me. And I was doing, I had the potential at the time to have gone pretty far. And so a lot of resentment built up. There was a lot of past trauma from, family stuff that needed to be sorted. And at the time, growing up, when you're in your teens, and even loads of people as well in their 20s and even into 30s, you don't realize that the journey that you're on, it seems difficult, but you don't realize that it's shaping you and molding you for such a, you know, such a massive purpose later on. And that's not to say that my purpose is massive, but every other person will also have a massive purpose that they need to carry out as well. This is my personal view. So anyway, I went into all different areas after that. I eventually at one point became a law of attraction coach. I started coaching and law of attraction, manifestation, and things like this. Started doing workshops with young people who were really troubled, and found that a lot of adults, in fact, largely the problems that people face in their everyday lives are things that they actually haven't even noticed have come from childhood, and things that haven't been addressed. It just, so I'm going to be vulnerable. We use that word vulnerable. I'm going to be vulnerable now. I come from a mixed family, but like my father is from the Caribbean, and his values, the way he was raised, and in his family, the way that you discipline your child in the Caribbean is that child has to have a level of fear for you. And so I understanding this, I grew up with a certain level of fear about getting things right and not getting things wrong. And so as a result, I was a very good child, but I had anxiety. Fast forward 20, 30 years, and I'm like having anxiety attacks, not knowing why, for no reason. And then coming to understand that actually what it was is that my subconscious mind had been, it had been set, almost hardwired to anxiety. And so now I was just feeling it for no reason. I didn't need a trigger. I didn't even need a bill to come through the door. And it was until I started working on myself, there was so much healing that needed to be done. I had to heal the relationship with my family, with my dad. There was resentment about the music, all this stuff that needed to be healed in order for me to get over that, or in the process of me getting over that. And just because I don't want to keep you guys too long, I did manage through meditation and through doing the work, addressing my shadow, doing the shadow work. I managed to heal that stuff in such a beautiful way that myself and my dad is like my best friend. Like I don't know how many times a day we talk, maybe three times a day. We're on the phone to each other now, and we can talk for ages. And I adore this man, and I see him in a way that I couldn't see him before. And that's where I guess we get to the heart opening. And even what you were saying about men being vulnerable and finding it difficult. I noticed that males, especially very dominant alpha males, tend to suffer with anxiety because they have this sense of responsibility that they're walking around with, that they need to protect and look after everyone. So that anxiety that they have can seep out in different ways. That my dad is like a Virgo, he's a leader, and he's very, he's very kind of disciplined in how things should be. And I couldn't see that before because my heart was closed. And so that blocked off the relationship that I could have had with him at the time. But the moment I opened my heart, this forgiveness just came in, and I just saw my father in just such a different light, that I just adore this man so much, with all his flaws that every human has. I just adore him so much, and I just see him so differently. And I see men differently now, especially these alpha males walking around, who sometimes seem to be very angry, some of them, or maybe really aggressive. A lot of the time, it's anxiety, and they're just trying to cover it over, you know?
Yeah, that's really powerful. Do you think that stepping into self-love, self-actualization, really reconnecting with yourself, building a strong relationship with yourself, getting to know yourself, basically, saying yes to you more than you say yes to the world, do you think that that then gives you this level of compassion for others when you see them being reactive or negative or angry?
I do. And the crazy thing about it is, like I'm in a lot of groups where I see people, where people are talking about the different dynamics, and there's a lot of talk. One of the words that I've seen that comes up a lot nowadays is narcissist. Everybody's talking about narcissists and what is it, and the codependent and things like that. But the problem with that is, when we give someone a label, I can't remember who it is that says it, that when you label me, you negate me. But it's like you restrict that person to only being that name that you've given them. And on a metaphysical, on a spiritual and energetic level, you're contributing to those behaviors because that is your expectation of them. So when you work on your own energy, your own self-love, one of the first things you realize is that we are all connected and we're all one anyway, number one. But the second thing is, you no longer, your perspective changes. You're not perceiving that person from here anymore. You're perceiving them from up here. So you don't see them as narcissists. You see them as what they could be. And I don't even know how, without sounding crazy, I've seen the power of heart energy and how it transforms relationships and how it goes out into different areas of your life where you thought things could never be changed. I've seen how things transform, not by you physically going and moving things about or saying something or doing something, but literally just by you being. I've seen how that impacts people. So yes, self-love, opening your heart, that alone is a purpose and can transform the world, starting with your circle as well.
Yeah, very powerful. The whole narcissist and codependent um, environment that I'm aware of, as much as I think a lot of it just, in terms of the labeling, it just comes
Yeah,
from pain, right? It comes from the
yeah,
person being inside that realm for quite some time, being tortured or manipulated or controlled or put down.
yeah.
And now, people are defining that, which what they
Mm,
experienced as that person being, this is the label that we give them. That's what they're called,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
From my point of view, and this is not to discredit anyone who's been in any of those experiences, but what I've learned from my own research on my own childhood is that everything does come from childhood. Everything does come
yeah,
from the environment that you were exposed to, the experiences that you went through, right? And if you were tortured or abused or sexually abused, or you project exactly from yourself exactly what it is that you have, which is something that you've
yeah,
experienced. So the only reason why someone is a narcissist, how did they learn that? Where did that come from?
yeah,
Right? So it's to actually say, well, you know what, that person has a lot of pain
yeah,
that they're unconsciously living in that way and
yeah,
treating someone, less than them, and gaslighting them and all the other names that they use in that
yeah,
in that you know place of understanding those relationships. So it's hard because it's like, well, I know when you're in that relationship it hurts, and when you come out of it it
yeah,
hurts, and you've got so much anger towards them. But it's also to step back and realize, hey, that person is hurt.
yeah,
They're hurt. That's the issue, and that's why it's like, well,
mm,
now that you, and the other thing, this takes me to a TikTok video that I made, and let me know your thoughts on this, because I think a lot of people were not agreeing with me on this one, and that's, you know, everyone has their own opinions, and it's okay. But what I was saying was that in my previous relationships, for example, I was dependent on others, right? I maybe had narcissistic traits of, you know, putting people down, putting them down, or manipulating them in certain ways, right? As an unconscious male that I was, very egoistic and dominant and masculine or whatever. And what I said was that you're in a toxic relationship, not because just the other person's toxic, but because you are toxic as well. And people were triggered by that, because they were like, how can I be when I'm the empath, I'm attracted to a narcissist because they're very manipulative and they know how to, you know, figure me out, or you know, control me in that sense, or, you know, get into that relationship. But I was like, you're toxic as well. Like, you're not aware of it because you're insecure. You have feelings of inadequacies. You have feelings of dependencies. You have feelings of, you know, not wanting to leave that person, even though they're fucking treating you like shit. Even though they're gaslighting you, you won't leave them because you're dependent. And that's what you went through in your childhood. Hence why now you're attracting exactly what you're afraid of. Right. So it's actually when you start to realize this shit, that you're the toxic one as well, you got work to do on yourself. That's my message, is not to say you're toxic, that you're a bad person, but it's to become aware of why you've evolved the way you've evolved, what you've gone through that's made you how you are, to say, hey, step back, leave that relationship, reconnect with yourself and heal yourself, so that you can then know your worth, attract a healthy relationship into your life, and learn from your red flags, man. When they come up, you got to have that strong sense of confidence to be aware, right? When you start overthinking, when you start doubting yourself, when you start seeing signs or energy that doesn't match your vibrational, anything that just doesn't bring you peace, anything that brings you drama, see you later. And you got to be confident enough to be able to do that, and to say, no, I'm not going through that again. I've experienced that in the past, and everything's a lesson. So what do you think about that? Oh yeah, go for it. Go for it. All right. So Leona connected with me through Facebook, right? And last night she actually, we had a conversation, and this is, I'll go back to this when she comes back, in terms of this conversation about being toxic. You know, you also being toxic when you're kind of being gaslighted or manipulated or whatever. But she mentioned something to me about meditation, and she's back. Okay, so we'll talk about what you were talking about, meditation, and opening your heart and allowing God to speak instead of constantly seeking for support and help, right? Praying, because I practiced that even more today, and that just kind of blew my mind. But anyway, so just going back to that relationship stuff about narcissist, codependent, toxicity and all that shit. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree with you 150%. Absolutely. Because the thing is, you're right. We have scenarios. You can have a set of twins who were raised in the same environment, but one as a result of, I don't know, it could be the smallest little thing. One ends up having narcissistic traits, and another one ends up having codependent traits. And these two were raised in the same household. It's a trauma response. But you see, what happens is we turn around and we say, and this is probably the biggest thing that I always try to remind people of, is that we have this thing where we want to say that this thing over there that is behaving like this is making me feel this way. And that's why I feel this way, because of that thing over there. So let's break that down. So what you're saying to me then is, you need this person to behave like this one to be, you need all these things to be exactly where you want them to be in order for you to be okay. That makes you a victim, but that's not those people making you a victim, that's you making yourself a victim. So when you say this person, you want to call this person a narcissist, and you want to label yourself, it's never really stuck with me to call myself a particular thing. Even the whole empathic even the whole empath situation, we don't realize how this is how, and rightfully our the title of this conversation is what was the title? I can't remember. It was something to do
I
with
wrote it on
power.
my Facebook page, and it was powerful. And I'm just going to have a look because it'll definitely be there. It's not coming up.
Well,
Something.
we know
It was the power, something to do with power.
yeah.
This is the
It was
power that you've been looking for, or something like that.
yeah, it was something to do with power. And the point is, when you
Do you
say
know how
that,
powerful you are?
that's it. When you say that this person has done this and now I am upset, the problem is not with that person. If we think of how the whole world works and all these different cultures there are around the world, different age groups, different nationalities, different generations, the way that a younger generation will say whatever, for me, that's just so rude to say whatever to someone. But then when I work with some kids and they say whatever, for them, that's not a rude thing. So people will say things based on their culture, their life experiences, you know, and their personality. You now have to decide what you're going to allow to trigger you. And in fact, when you do get triggered, and this is why being triggered is good, and this is why censorship is not a good thing at all, you should be triggered. Everyone should be allowed to say what they want to say to you. Number one is an indication of your vibration, because when you're in a good place and your vibration is high and you walk out on that street, you know, someone comes and gives you a free this, you find a £10 note on the floor, you know, you go to the shop that you get, someone gives you free, you know, free stuff or whatever, you get a phone call from a friend, you know, the sun shining, your vibration will be revealed to you via the things that are happening to you. So instead of looking at situations and saying this person said this and now I'm upset, say to yourself, why was I triggered by that? And say, what is it about this that's triggering me and what do I need to work on? And in fact, for the most part, you don't even need to say, oh, specifically, I need to heal this specific thing. Go within, and we live in such a beautiful, benevolent universe that it will decide for you what next needs to be healed. All you need to do is be still. And then you find things leaving, and usually it's in the form of you crying for like no reason. You don't know why you're crying. You do a really good meditation, you feel great, and then afterwards you feel like you want to punch someone in the face. That's a good meditation, because that's something leaving. You don't know why, but that's anger leaving or sadness leaving. So with regards to what you were saying and the whole narcissistic situations and relationships and things like this, we are not victims unless we choose to be. We live in a universe of consent. You must consent to everything. So if you are a victim, you are consenting to it. And it might sound difficult. It might be a difficult pill to swallow, but I had to do that. I was one of the worst poor me's. I wanted everyone's pity. The story, I would keep regurgitating the story. This happened to me and that happened to me, until I realized I was just manifesting and manifesting my past over and over again, because I just kept talking about it. And eventually I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And someone would ask me what happened. I'll say, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, and you've got to find ways. This way you've got to get creative about things. So let's say, I'll give you an example. So there was a guy that I had met a few years back, and we were just having a conversation. And my personal belief is that when something is, if my vibration is up here, anything that comes to me, comes into my circle, it must come up to meet me or it must fall away. It cannot enter unless it's at this high vibration. So all I need to do is work on that high vibration. So in this scenario, this guy, I started talking to him, and he was very charming to begin with. And then eventually it became very clear that he was into some kind of dominant type of humiliation thing. And he would get kicks out of it. Now, he said to me, I think what he wanted was to see some sort of weakness, crying or whatever. He said to me one day, he said, I don't get you. He was like, why are you still talking to me? And I said to him, I'm waiting for the universe to remove you from my circle. I want to see what I need to learn from you. Otherwise, I could delete you and block you, but I'll just meet someone else with the different face who is you again. So I want to make sure I've learned the lesson. And he deleted himself and blocked me.
Wow.
He said, so you're using me.
That's dope. Wow, that's an awesome perspective, you know, because yeah, but I think it's sometimes, even if you're unaware of, you know, that mismatch, or that person who actually doesn't have your best interests at heart or isn't healthy for you, and you have to stay in that relationship until you learn the lesson, until you get hurt enough for you to like snap out of it and go, geez, that's enough, man. I'm not doing this shit anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But I think the whole victim mindset in terms of, you know, this person is treating me like this because they are that way, or this is the label that I give them, and that's why I've gone through what I've gone through, is the fact that, you know, there's a level of inadequacy and insecurity and low self-esteem and, you know, abandonment or neglect that the person has experienced. Hence the reason why you don't have that confidence to actually step away,
Yeah.
step up and say,
It,
hey, you know what? No, thank you.
it's just a set point that was established more than likely in your childhood, that of those things. And now, and remembering, we are magnets, like literally science has verified we are magnets. So if that is your set point that was established in childhood, now you're in adulthood, you're still attracting the same thing. And the other thing I want to say is that whole victim narrative, there's a lot of helplines and things like this, and I always kind of cringe when I see some of the wording, because some of this narrative is designed to keep people as victims, and you are not a victim. You are so damn powerful. Like it's frightening actually how much more power you have than you know, and you're just not accessing it. And this is why it's dangerous, because remembering that you're a magnet, if you have in your subconscious mind that you are a victim, be it of this, that, racism, homophobia, whatever it is, you know, any type of prejudice, the minute you start saying that you are a victim of it, and that is your belief, you are going to manifest more and more. The universe is just going to give you what you keep saying and what you set as a belief. So what you need to do is reprogram that. You need to rewire it. And it's not as difficult as you might think to do.
Are you trying to like sell to people right now to come and join my program or what? because that's the whole purpose of what I do, is I help you reprogram your mind. But there's a lot of subconscious, toxic, unconscious, destructive, habitual behaviors that we're living in right now that are really controlling us. And most people have been so, you know, they've taken in so much shit, low vibrational energy and experiences that have dumbed them down to the point where you actually allow yourself to be disrespected and not respected. And this is why, again, let's go back to self-love, reconnection, and don't be afraid. I think one of the biggest fears is being alone, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hang on a second. When you're with yourself, you're never alone because you're here.
Exactly.
But we've been programmed that way to think that, oh, if I don't have a physical person right next to me, then I'm alone, right? And you feel lonely, and it's like, man, You got to show
But
up and learn to be your own best friend. Like you're hectic.
but the thing is, you can still have, you can be in a room full of people and still feel lonely if there is that lack of connection. And there will be that lack of connection if you have a lack of connection with yourself in the first place. And so what we were talking about, what has been the running theme for the past few days, especially in light of some of the fear that is, that is circulating at the moment, the answer to all of it is just, Joe Dispenza's got some good information on how your vibration shifts, how your perspective shifts depending on your vibration. And so when you have an open heart, you are in a position to receive the most beautiful things in the world. And that's when you see the synchronicities coming. That's when you see like beautiful people coming into your life and you connect to, And so the key is in these situations is to get yourself out of survival mode, get yourself out of fear mode. And then the way to do that, one of the ways, is by opening your heart. And when you open your heart, you see people differently, you feel people differently, you connect with different people, and that's when you're able to make a difference as well.
So the
So
deeper meaning of what you're saying, because I'm hearing it and I'm like, well, how is this the solution to, let's say, what's going on around the world? And it's like self-actualization. It's reconnecting with your intuition. It's reconnecting with your power and you connecting with the divine, the source,
yeah,
the truth. And that's the key. It's the truth. Because once you're connected with the truth, right, then you know exactly that you're being guided, that
exactly.
it's everything that you're doing is in flow, and you
Yeah,
won't consent to something that's dark.
yeah, that's it. That's and the thing is as well, because we have these things where people, I had a situation recently, where I got offered a music opportunity and everyone was going, oh my God, this is awesome. There was so much stuff lined up for me. And, photo shoots, videos, this, interviews, all the rest of it. And my heart was just going, no, no, no. But so many people were going, you deserve this, it's so right for you. And people saying, and I was saying to people, but it doesn't feel right because it's not in line with, like, I'm doing something else. It's not in alignment. And people saying, yeah, but just do this first, then you can do your thing. And I was like, no, my spirit's telling me no. And my intuition was literally screaming in my ear. And I listened to everyone else's logic and everyone else's common sense, you see? And they were basing their common sense and their logic on statistics, on forecasts of and the history of other artists. They were, oh, this artist had done this like this and blah, blah, blah. And everyone was trying to get me to follow someone else's path. But someone else's path is not necessarily yours. So in many cases, it doesn't make sense listening to what other people have to say. The only person you should listen to is someone who's trying to help you be guided back to yourself, which is why I am so passionate about the work you're doing, because that's exactly what you're doing, guiding people back to themselves so they no longer have to ask people, should I do this? Is this right? Is this wrong? Being swayed by the media, being swayed by, people who are maybe deceiving on purpose or maybe even by accident, no longer have to do that. They have a guidance. You're helping people to activate their guidance system and their compass within. And this is what needs to happen.
Yeah, that's powerful. And you mentioned something about meditation to me in regards to prayer. And it's funny that we're having this conversation yesterday, and you were talking to me about your dad being a pastor, and I was like, well, my mum's like a really, really faithful Catholic, and she loves her faith and she prays all the time, and she's really devoted, right? And I'm not, okay? And then you're kind of the same, right? And I'm like, and then you said something to me that was really profound, and I've already shared it with my clients, and I'm just like, listen to this stuff. And I shared with them that, you know, whatever religion you are, like you're praying, you're constantly praying, right? Because you want help or guidance or whatever it is. But the connection with meditation was that, you know, shut up, like
Yeah,
sit in
exactly.
silence and listen and let God speak to you, you know? And I did that today when I went out into the woods, and I sat in the forest there, in the bush, whatever you want to call it, with the trees. And I did that meditation that you sent me. And I just allowed myself to be, you know? And it's something that I
Amazing.
just felt very connected to. And I was just like, man, that's what I'm talking about. You know, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, it just comes from, so yeah, my dad is a pastor, and you would think that, so I have radical views in not the opposite direction, but you know, they're not in alignment, total alignment with them, with my dad, but we get on really well, and so we're always talking. But one of the things I'm always saying to him is, Dad, you need to meditate, just be still. And he's like, yeah, I meditate on the word of God. Yeah, I do this. And it's like, hold on. Everybody's always trying to get away from just being still in the silence. It's like we're scared of it. And what happens is, as I was saying to you, we're always talking, we're always doing stuff to occupy the mind. And that's satisfying the monkey mind, you know, is satisfying the part of us that is scared to change, because we're constantly filling it with stuff. Even if you say you're going to meditate on the word of God, that's great, and you could do that, but it's like you still want to give the divine time to give you these messages, because the crazy thing is, there's always this still small voice that's talking to us, and if we're quiet enough, we get a moment where we hear it, and we hear it so clearly, and it's literally that voice that you're walking down the road, you're driving down the road, you get to crossroad and you go, should I go that way? Should I go that way? And something says to you, go that way. Later on, you find out there was a car accident the other way, you know, or something says to you, look down, you look down, there's money on the floor, or something. What happens to me now, my friends now have like a big joke. I now just listen to the voice, and I will get my friends' names, or sometimes even strangers. I've been told, go and speak to that person over there. And I'm like, really? This is a complete stranger. Like, honestly, okay, fine. And I'm not suggesting people should go and talk to random strangers. Do not put yourself in any danger. But this is the level of confidence that I have in my intuition and my connection with the divine. And when I've spoken to these people, in many cases, I've told them something that they really needed to hear that day, you know, or they've told me something I really needed to hear, or it turns out that there was some crazy thing that was connecting us. So my thing is, be still, do it regularly, do it often. The more you do it, you'll find that, number one, your creative centers will start to open up. You'll find that you become more creative, and you need creativity in order to solve problems in your life, you know. The second thing is, you'll find as well that you're less emotionally reactive to things. It's like somebody jumps in front of you in traffic, whereas you'd normally blow your horn or want to drive up alongside them and say, what the hell are you doing? This time you start opening your heart, you start being still, and this person cuts in front of you in traffic, and you're like, oh, maybe he's got an emergency. Like, you know, maybe he's in a hurry. Like, I'm not in a hurry. Let him go. I hope it's all right. You know, your brain thinks differently. And there's a whole cascade of events that come as a result of your lack of emotional reactivity. You know, when you're at peace, that peace, it goes out, it floods out into all the areas of your life, and you start to see things changing. So it is powerful. It sounds so simple, and some of us, we don't like it. We don't want to know that the fix is so easy to the problems in our lives. We don't want to know. All I have to do is just sit in silence. We don't want to hear that. It's too easy. Give me something I have to buy or take you know, I have to pay loads of money for this pill or something. Like, we don't want to know that that could have such a profound impact on us, but it does. And it's, if you want to do your part in the world as well, like everything that's happening right now, this is something that you need to do. Being still is so important, you know, and just going within, you know.
Tell me about the sending love from your heart to your family, to people around you,
Oh,
to protect them and stuff like that. Because not everybody's on the same vibration as you, and you know, your job as well. Like for me, it's not to go around to my family and tell them, this is the mindset you have to have. This is how I live, so it works, and you have to do it like me. I'm just a role model, and I do what I believe in. And you know,
yeah.
who wants to learn or feed off what I'm sharing, go for it. I'm not here to tell anyone, but talk about that part of the experience of, you know, reconnecting with the heart. Because doing this meditation for me today, yeah, I when the guided meditation was saying, you know, go to focus on your heart, or when I heard the words, I was always trying to connect with the heart. But I'll be honest with you and say that, you know, I'm not a completely dedicated meditator. Although, you know, from what you've shared with me, it's kind of inspired me to go, okay, you know, focus on this and do it daily. It's only 15 minutes. But how do I, because sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm just like, is this right? What am I supposed to feel? How is this supposed to, like, how do I open my heart? How does this supposed to work? Like,
Yeah.
because people can be
So,
watching this and listening and going, you
yeah,
know, I've never meditated before, or I don't get it. What's the purpose? What's the point? How's it going to benefit me? All these questions are going to come up,
yeah,
and you know, it definitely takes time. You know, it's not like after one time you do it, it's going to just change your life. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
again, it's about peace as well. You know,
yeah.
so tell me about, how do I focus the energy, or you know, connect with myself or with my heart deeper when I'm meditating?
Well, first off, I just want to say, because I'm like, I might sound like a spiritual hippie kind of person. I'm really into science. I study a lot of neuroscience, and I can't just hear something and be like, you know, someone say, oh, there's a spiritual orange next to you that follows you everywhere, and that's why this happens. And I need some type of evidence, you know. I need to see something. And so I just want to say, for anybody who is looking for verification of the stuff I'm saying to you about the power of the heart, the Heart Math Institute has been doing studies on the heart for decades now, a good couple of decades now. And they have devices where they're measuring, because you know that your heart is, well, we are electric beings. Our heart generates a current that is, it basically is keeping you alive. I mean, as well as the divine, but it generates a current. It's called action potential. And that's why you need salts and things like that, because the salts are what help to conduct the electricity. Now, the HeartMath Institute has actually discovered, using one of their devices, that when you activate your heart and you get into heart coherence, which I'll explain to you in a second, your the field that spans from your heart stretches out over 3 meters from your body. And the reason that they've said 3 meters is only because the device that they're working with could not measure any further than that. They don't have a device that can measure any further, but I know, I can tell you anecdotally, every time I do heart opening meditations and heart coherence, I get a ton of messages afterwards from friends. How are you? I just said, I was thinking of you, came into my mind. And this is a common thing that is happening. So the way that it works is, first and foremost, you don't even have to be directing your heart energy at someone. You don't even have to. If you are connected to that person, then when you start to open your heart, it seems like we have like an energetic cord or bond to the things. And Joe Dispenza actually talks about this as well, to the things that we are attached to in our lives. And so when we store our energy, it's like something happens in those areas of our lives. And that's why you don't need to go around physically moving things. But if there was someone in particular that was unwell, for example, or maybe you had an argument with someone or something like that, just go within. And what you need to do, the actual technique, and there are loads of videos on the internet, on YouTube, and you start breathing. You can do in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds. And as you're breathing in and out, instead of like you were doing other meditations, visualizing the breath coming in and out of your nose and your mouth, you visualize it coming in and out of your heart. You close your eyes and you put your hand on your heart. So you connect with that particular, you bring the awareness into your heart, and you breathe in, out, and you'll find after a few times of you doing that, you'll start to feel a sensation in your heart. Now, when it becomes very heightened and everything, you can now either radiate this light out of your heart into the world. Sometimes what I do is I encompass the whole planet in that love, in that heart energy. And sometimes, that my mum has not been so well recently, I did one for her, 15 minutes I spent sending love to her. And I did another one for my dad, because they don't like to be apart at all. And so, and you find that I've had people that I've done these meditations, I've directed it at them, and I didn't tell them, and they've rang me and said, what did you just do? I felt something. What did you just do? I did nothing. You did something. So it's very, very powerful. I urge you to try it. It's like the elevated emotions, the high vibrations. It really does impact so many different areas of your life. You know, just this small little thing. You could do it for 15 minutes. No big deal, you know.
Thanks for sharing that. Someone could be listening to this, and I mean, even my skeptical mind was just like, well, you know, it sounds a bit far-fetched that you could, you know, send love to the whole world, and actually the energy from your heart could be actually, you know, projected at that, on that scale. That could just be another belief system. And if that's what you believe, well, that's your truth, you know, but necessarily, does it actually work? You know what I mean? Like that's the you know, that's the skeptical mind of whether or not this is really real. But, you know, in terms of energy, electricity, vibration, yourself as that is true.
Yeah.
So what you're saying in terms of the heart energy, and in terms of your heart being electric, and it's like, you know, it's powerful, man. It's like,
Yeah. And one other response, if I just to interject, you're in Australia and I am in London, and via some energy that we cannot see, you and I are having a conversation right now and communicating. Someone would have said that was voodoo and completely far-fetched, like 50, 60 years ago, right?
true. Absolutely. Powerful stuff. I want to talk quickly just about your fasting, because you've fasted for
Oh,
12 days, and I fasted
wow.
last year for 3 days, and
Oh, wow, cool.
that was a bit of an experience.
Yeah.
which I went
Yeah.
through. Definitely very healing. Again, just a deeper connection with myself, and also more of a heightened awareness that, you know, your body is very, very resilient and powerful. So share with us a little bit about your experience with fasting for 12 days and what you went through and why you did it and what were your results.
Um, so it was, again, it's just to say, and in fact, I hope that this brings hope to people, because sometimes when you're feeling down, you can look at other people who seem to be in a really great place and think, oh God, that's, you know, it's not possible for me. And, you know, you feel a great disconnection between you and that person. But I was in a place where I was feeling very low, and my intuition told me that I needed to fast. And everyone around me was telling me, no, don't do it. Don't, you know, don't do this. I went like 1 day, no food. I went 2 days, no food. And my family and friends and everyone were now starting to say to me, you need to eat. And I was like, no, I'm not going to eat. Like, something is telling me that I need to fast. And you can go and check out, by the way, the benefits of fasting as well. Scientifically, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube and things like this. But I'd advise you don't, if you've got illnesses or something like that, you need to make sure that you've got someone, a health professional, supporting you on the journey, because it can be quite taxing on the liver, the kidneys, and things like that. But what happened was, so I got to 3 days now, and 3 days into the fast, everyone was really putting the pressure on me. No, you need to eat. And I was like, no. That third day, I was doing like enemas and things like that. So I was really flushing my body. That third day of no food, a tumor came out of me. And I'm telling you, I was already at a low point. But when I saw that, I was crying my eyes out at the time.
Did you
I
know that
was
you
literally,
had the tumor?
no, I was not expecting it. So at first I was like, what the hell is this?
Or is
And
that when you
I
went to the
was,
bathroom or something?
yeah, it was when, because you know, like when you do an enema, you flush like
What's
right up.
enema?
It's like, so an enema is, okay, oh God. So,
Just
so
be
an
real,
enema,
whatever. Just people are listening, like, just so that everyone knows what the hell we're talking about.
yeah, disclaimer, if you're,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. It's all right.
so like you got like you got what they call them, colonic irrigation, where it's an electronic device where they flush water up you like with great force up the back passage,
Yep.
and then they suck it all out. But you can do, at home, you can do an enema. You can purchase enema kits on
Right.
Amazon,
Okay.
and it's a more gentle way of flushing water into. You can put
Ah, okay.
herbs and things like that in there. You must check, you know, what you're doing. Get support if you don't know what you're doing. Get advice, and you flush water in, and it goes all the way through your colon and everything, and you can feel it filling you up. And when it feels full, you stop the flow of water, and then you flush everything out. And what happens is you do get loads of old stuff. You would think after 3 days of no food that there would be nothing, but you've got it. It turns out that over the years we just build up stuff that never leaves our bodies, and that makes us not as bright. You know, it makes our eyes not look as bright. It makes our brain not as clear. It makes us not absorb water as well as we could do. So we may be drinking loads of water, but still dehydrated. And it's on many occasions, it's this stuff as well that causes problems. But I'm not a doctor or a naturopath, so I'm not gonna make claims or anything like that. But what happened was, anyway, so this third day, this tumor came out. I had no idea that anything like that was going on inside me. So I was crying my eyes out. The next day, another one comes out. And I'm like, okay, at this point, I kind of stepped back, and I had my father and my mother coming round and praying and putting anointing oils on my head. And if there's one thing that I believe, that even though my theories are different and the teachings are different, one thing that I maintain that is powerful right across the board is faith. Like, faith is faith. And my parents have, me and my brother call my parents the witches, actually, because if they pray, it's gonna happen, because they have this unwavering faith and belief. And so my parents were coming around every day and they were praying that anything that is blocking me in my body be released. So me being such a daddy's girl, the first night that it happened, I ring my dad at like 1 a.m. I'm like, Daddy, this has happened. And he was like so shocked. He didn't know what to do. And so he had to gather his thoughts. And the next day, he said to me, do you know what? He said, we were praying that whatever was blocking you would be released from your body. And he said something came to him and a voice spoke to him and said, you asked for this. You asked for this. Why are you afraid now? And you know, over the period of the next how many days, I fasted for a total of 12 days. In total, I stopped counting after, but in total, 12 tumors left my body during that time. And after the third day, everyone was like, no, don't eat, don't eat, because they were like, is there more of this stuff? And
So it was just a water. You were drinking water though.
oh yeah, geez, yeah, loads of water. In fact, I was drinking water. I was having supplements. I was taking humic and fulvic acid, which is this really powerful black stuff. It actually decalcifies the pineal gland as well, this stuff. I was taking, what else? Oh, I did a hair mineral analysis as well beforehand to see what things I was deficient in. And I also had to have a blood test as well to see if there was any cancer in my body. And it came back that it was like the lowest level. And they said that it's so, I've got other tests to do, but they said it was so low that they believe that it's something that's on its way out. So it was probably the tumors leaving, because I did the blood test in the middle of that. And I had fasted before for 7 days in Thailand. That was like years back, but I think I wasn't, I don't know what it was. I think I didn't really know the purpose of what I was doing. I didn't set an intention. It wasn't kind of instructed by spirit, but this time I was really moved to do this. And I was like having to be around my kids, eating my favorite foods. My neighbor, who is Indian, brought me my favorite, like I love chapatis, and she made me a steaming hot fresh batch of chapatis in the middle of my fast. I was like, here, and I was like, oh my God.
So
and so when
it would have been hard. I mean, I know when I fasted for 3 days that, I was lucky that I didn't have too many people around. My parents were quite supportive, and I was just sleeping a lot and just zoned out, because it's not an easy experience. So how did you like manage that with having kids and the household and stuff like that? You must have felt very weak.
Yeah, I was. I just, you know what? I just set my mind. I just had made a decision. I have a naturopath that I'm working with, and she's absolutely awesome. And she was kind of unsure about the whole fasting thing as well, because she'd never had a client do that before, and she hadn't instructed me to do it. It was totally my decision. And so she was unsure of whether or not I should do it. But then she is someone also who's very intuitive. And she said to me, do you know what? She said, I'm feeling that you need to fast for a total of 12 days. She said, I feel you need to do 12 days. And I was like, fine. So once I had that figure, that I'm doing 12 days. So if anyone out there is considering doing this, I'd say one of the tips is decide how long you're going to do it for, because it's very difficult to be seeing batches of food and smelling your father's Jamaican fried dumplings and be like, I don't know when I'm going to be eating again. Like, that's very difficult. It could drive you crazy. But if you know, okay, I can eat after this period of time, it makes it easier. But the other thing is as well, it's really important. You have to decide. There are different types of fast. Some people do water fast. Some people do juice fast. And I wasn't just doing water. I was taking supplements as well because I was deficient in so many things.
So how do you feel now after coming out of it? Do you feel powerful? Do you feel more connected, more aligned, more deeper rooted with truth and power and consciousness and love and love and love and more love?
I've been going through the whole thing. I've come out of the fast. It was about 2 weeks now that I've come out of it. I've been going through a spiritual shift. It's been really crazy because I've been having all these things kind of come to me, all these epiphanies coming to me. The way that I feel about things, the way that I perceive the world, my drive and my ambition for my purpose has just been ramped up like times 100. It's been really, one of the things that I have to say is gratitude has gone through the roof, because you can imagine as well, like you go through something like that. There were points I thought I was going to die. There were points where I literally thought I was going to die. I was so weak and these things were coming out of me. And I have to say, and some people will say this is not wise and you shouldn't do it. But again, I'm going to reiterate that this is a result of, as a result of my intuition and what I feel is a deep connection with the divine. I didn't go to any doctors. We paid independently for all of my tests. And we're still doing tests now. The doctors are doing my bloods and things like that. But, we want even more extensive tests. So we've gone straight to the labs to get things done that way. I'm not telling anybody to do this. But so now it's a point where I'm now building myself back up. But I just see things so differently. I see the world so differently. I'm so much even more grateful for my life. The people around me, the way that the people who love me came together to be there for me, my friends, like I'm just so grateful.
It's powerful, the gratitude, how, it's focusing on what you do have and the blessings that you have in your life, not what you don't have, the little things, But what that also does is it brings you back to the present moment. It brings you back to love. It brings you back to a good vibration. And it's like thinking about it, it's powerful because it brings you back to peace.
Exactly. And you know what? This is something that I have to say that is really important. Any situation that you are in with regards to manifestation, and this is the technique that I used a lot when I was in that situation, is asking myself, what does it feel like to feel good? What does it feel like to feel healthy? And getting inside that feeling regularly and feeling grateful for it in advance. That's the extent of my faith. And that should be the extent of our faith, if that is the school of thought that we're coming from, that we believe in, that in manifestation, etc. And there are studies that show actually that gratitude has massive impacts on your immune system as well anyway. So even if you don't believe the whole spiritual energetic stuff, on a scientific level, it does actually have a massive impact on the body.
Powerful, man. You know, the word that we were talking about was self-actualization.
Mm,
And it kind of makes me think about life. And I'm like, why isn't this taught more? Like, this is not new information. Like, why isn't this taught in 1960 or 70 or 80? Or why weren't our parents taught this? Like,
mm,
has religion really blocked people from this kind of truth? Because, you know, like, for example, you know, using the context of giving, for example, you know, be selfless, right? Give
yeah,
to others, help others,
yeah,
right? And in the meaning of, you know, in biblical terms, for example, you know, it's about, you know, giving to others. And there's the 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 connection with the self. It's not very, like, it's there's not a lot of it there to say, hey, take
mm,
care of you first, wake yourself
yeah,
up, reconnect with your power, so that when you're full and overflowing, then you can help everyone around you.
that's it.
Because if you don't take care of you, when you're driving on empty, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm just thinking about it now, and I think about it all the time, and I'm just like, it makes so much freaking sense. And yet we still a lot of people out there that don't have that deeper rooted connection with themselves. Because I say this, man, it's so true. Once you establish a strong foundation, like a tree, right? The one thing I
Yeah,
love about trees is, you know, especially the ones that are really tall and they have a lot of branches and they have leaves, the evidence is very clear that that tree was once a seed, and it
yeah,
had to develop roots, and it had to build a really, really strong
yeah,
foundation, right, for it to grow
yeah,
tall and be able to grow, you know, branches and leaves. It had to
yeah,
build that first, right, which is the core
yeah,
of you as a human, right? You have to build a
exactly.
strong
Yeah,
foundation and relationship with yourself, because if you don't have that, right, then you won't be able to grow and branch out and grow the leaves and be fruitful and
exactly.
blossom, right?
Yeah,
You're gonna be, you know, you're gonna basically, the winter's gonna come, the snow's gonna come, the thunder's gonna come, and these are all external circumstances in your life, in your human experience, that are gonna come and push you over all the time. Whereas a
yeah,
tree, a strong tree, what does it do? The rain comes and it just blows a little bit, and the wind comes and it still stands, and the snow comes, it still
yeah,
stands, right? So that's why I'm saying, man, when you love yourself and you have this relationship with yourself, everything else falls into place, because nothing can
exactly.
push you over. You know who you are. You know your worth.
Exactly.
You don't
Yeah,
accept bullshit. You don't accept people to come into your life and disrespect you or to treat you. You know, when you know how you deserve to be treated, that's what you expect.
yeah,
And when someone projects that to you, you're just like, please, man, you know, I know who I am. Like, see you later, you know. And that's the
yeah,
low self-worth and low self-esteem and the lack of intuition and lack of connection with who it is that you are, that you don't pick up on even a toxic relationship or somebody who's come into your life that actually is very manipulative at the start and you're not aware. Because people can do
yeah,
that. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
used to be a little bit like that, I'll be honest, right?
yeah,
And I used to know what to say to make sure that she felt good, even though I wasn't completely 100% truthful,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know? So it's like, when you're deeply rooted into intuition and love and self-awareness and understanding and trusting yourself, you pick up
yeah,
on little things, man. And like, that's why I say
yeah,
vibes don't lie. If something feels off, that's because it fucking
yeah,
is. Stop fucking
yeah,
second guessing yourself, trust your intuition. It doesn't lie.
absolutely. I agree with you. And the thing is, I guess there are many ways that we, that we can look at. There are many ways that we can look at the whole journey, and I don't think it's any secret that the systems that are in place in the world are not there to nurture us. Um, the social constructs, the schooling system has its purpose, which is not spiritual nurturing. You know, university, etc. We know people get degrees, but many people with degrees don't have jobs. You need a certain level of initiative and a certain level of connectedness within yourself, um, in order to know how to utilize certain skills that you've acquired. So it's not just a given that you're given this information and now you're going to go off and make money, etc. But it's like I have a 17-year-old, and I said to him that, you know, as a result of some of the decisions that I've made for him growing up, which I thought were the best for him, but as a result of some of those decisions, he's going to have certain problems. I said there were times when I thought I was doing the right thing that maybe I wasn't, and maybe it will cause issues and traumas in you that you will now have to overcome, just like I had to overcome my parents. The difference is, I'm telling you now that you're 17 years old, that I am sorry for anything that I did to ever harm you, and I'm right here to help guide you through it.
Yeah.
And the most empowering thing that I said to him, I want to tell you, is that in the building, in the rebuilding and in the healing of all those things, you're gonna see yourself turn and blossom into something so awesome. And I said to him, I'm looking forward to seeing who that is, you know, that you turn into. In the healing of these things, you will become something awesome. And I have been through some things that I wouldn't even go into, you know, want to hear some of this. Maybe one day I'll write a book, but I have been through some stuff, and I look back on it now and I have nothing but gratitude for those people, for those experiences, even though they were painful, sometimes physically, sometimes just emotionally, because it's put me on a path where I'm in a position now to help people. And I know, I'm confident that I'm on my path of self-actualization as well. So it's kind of, may not seem like fun, but then it gets to a point where it's like, oh, I look back at the whole craziness, and actually that's why that happened. And you kind of connect the dots and you realize, oh, that's why. So even now, like, my parents are like, we're so sorry we didn't let you go to music college. And I'm like, no, I wasn't supposed to go. I was angry with them at the time, but I wasn't supposed to go. Now instead I went and did English literature. So I have a very different way of writing. Sorry, I have a very different way of writing music now, you know. So so it was all part of the journey. And sometimes when you're in it and you're feeling low and you're feeling down, you can't see it. But you just have to trust, you know. You just have to trust.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I didn't know and understand a lot of the things that
I'm
happened
so
to me.
sorry. I can't hear you
It's
because
probably,
I have a call that keeps coming in.
yeah, that's, it's
Can I
yeah,
I'm not sure what to do.
just log out and join back in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I'll do that.
just do that. That's all right. I know it's when someone calls and the phone gets disturbed, then it screws up the connection or whatever. But I was just gonna say, it's all right. I don't know if you can hear me, but yeah, Leona will be back soon. But yeah, as she was talking about this, it reminded me, because there were a couple of things that I feel that impacted my life. And one of them was when my mum told me when I was like 13, 14, I wanted to play soccer. And I said, Mum, I want to play soccer. And Mum said, you can't play soccer because you're too skinny. And if you go on the field, the other kids will break your bones. And that was really detrimental to my self-esteem. And I was very, very self-conscious about my physical appearance. And I grew up very skinny, very lanky. You know, people called me names, chicken legs, and, you know, looked like a rake. And so I was aware of that. And when my mum said that to me, it really, really hurt my feelings. And I started to believe that, you know, that I wasn't good enough. And that played a massive role in my self-esteem and self-confidence growing up. And I recently had, a healing experience with my mother, as she came into my room and she, said that I wasn't aware of what was going on at the time, and I'm sorry. And so we were able to communicate, and it was very healing for me. But I used to sit with that conversation and that circumstance, and I used to believe that, that's why I was the way that I was, and it's my mum's fault. And same thing with, nearly getting married in 2012, and 1 week before the wedding, it was cancelled because she wasn't ready. And at the time, I couldn't figure out why someone would do something like that, especially when I invested so much time and energy, um, and had so much belief and like this drive and desire to do absolutely anything and everything to make it happen. And it didn't happen. But looking back at it, it happened for a reason. All these things that we can sit on and despise and have resentment for and be unhappy because that's what happened to us in our life. Even my parents moving to another city when I was 20, and I used to say that because my parents left me, that's why I'm suffering, right? But as Leona was saying, man, like that happened to me for a reason. It built me. It helped me become the man that I am today. And I got to live with all my sisters. They're my greatest teachers. Hence, I
Yeah.
help women now transform their lives and come back to their power and wake up to their brilliance and really love themselves and empower themselves. And I wasn't aware that that was the journey that I was supposed to be on, that I was actually thinking that, my parents did me wrong. But man, like what you're sharing, Leona, it's just, it's powerful, man. Like you look back at everything that's happened in my life and it's all gratitude. It's all
Yeah.
like everything happened perfectly, changing the meaning of the past is how you
Yeah.
change the past, right?
That it. That's it. Do you know what? That's it exactly. Because what I was gonna say was when like every day, these tumors were coming out, and I started, at first I got into the fear. It was just like survival response, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And then I said one day, do you know something? No, I'm going to set an intention. And I said, you know what? I give thanks for this situation. I don't know what it is that's going to come of this, but something awesome is going to come of this. And I give thanks for it. And now the everything that's come to me as a result, and the spiritual shift that I'm having at the moment, I'm just like, my God, if I didn't have this, if this didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be having this. I wouldn't be able to share it, with anyone else as well, So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's amazing, to be honest. Even living with my parents and having a relationship with them, I never had a relationship with them. I was always
Yeah,
the ego driven, the macho masculine male that had it all figured out, and that was loving the cocaine and the drinking all the time. And there was just that disconnection. There wasn't the awareness of love and empathy and compassion and clarity of understanding what it means to be a parent, or what it means to,
yeah,
even having the awareness of compassion and empathy towards my sisters and how much they have to go through
yeah,
as women to raise children and manage a household
yeah,
and go through a divorce and everything else that I've experienced. There was just that,
mm,
it was a fog, I
yeah,
couldn't see. It's like I was blinded, you know.
yeah,
Like I was wearing shades all the time, and I was just like, man, the moment I took those shades off and started to love myself,
yeah,
that's why I say, man, when you start to love yourself, you activate a part of you that's been missing, and everything else starts to fall into place. And that's why I say, man, like when you start speaking your truth,
yeah,
right, you get into alignment with who it is that you are.
absolutely.
And that's where you start moving in the right direction. because a lot of us are afraid. We don't have that confidence. We're afraid of what people are going to think. We're afraid of what our family's going to think of us if we start to really voice our, you know, our real truth. Like, you know, come on, guys. I'm sure you're listening right now, and there's moments of, you know, you wanting to speak up, but you're afraid, and you're like, oh shoot, I really want to say something, but I'm not going to say it because this and this,
Yeah.
you know. And it's, you know, the truth is, Leona, we're all going to die physically.
Yeah. Our bodies are gonna die
That's right.
at
Our
some
bodies are
point.
going to die. Okay. So it's like, now that you're living this human experience, right? Make the most of it. Show up, stand up,
Yeah.
speak your truth, even if your voice
Yeah.
shakes, you
Yeah.
know, because you only
Absolutely.
get one chance here, right? And let's focus on the present moment, because, you know, you're eternal,
Yeah.
you're a spiritual being, but let's do your best and come to live your purpose and do exactly what you're supposed to do on this earth right now. Because I believe everyone, it's amazing when you stand up from looking down like onto earth. Like, I picture myself, I'm in space and I'm looking at earth, and I'm like, every single person that's like all the billions of people, everybody has a purpose. Like,
Right.
everybody is here to do that specific thing
Yeah.
until their time is up, and then they're gone,
Yeah.
right? And I know that, and it's powerful to think that way, because I really
Yeah.
believe that, you know. And when you can step into that and go, hey, why am I here, right? And it's not exactly, Leona, it's not exactly that, like, because I've heard of a lot of different people speak about, you know, finding your purpose, and how do you find it, and all this kind of stuff. Some people say, well, you know, you have to start asking yourself some questions. You have to start trying to figure it out. You have to start doing things, experiencing different things, trying new experiences, trying to ask new questions, whatever. But I believe that, again, purpose comes from your connection with your spirit and your self-love,
That's
right? Because
absolutely.
once you start to do what's right for you, speak your truth, and step into your truth and power, and give yourself more time, say yes to you, say no to the world, right? You
Yeah.
become purpose. You attract
Yeah.
you attract shit into your life that you never ever.
Yeah.
Life becomes so unpredictable. People come into your life that you never expected. It's
Yeah.
extraordinary, you know. So in terms of
Yeah.
finding purpose, it's like, stop looking for it and become it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That is so analytical and so kind of left brain, you know, that I'm gonna strategically trying to figure out instead of following your heart. Like, imagine I was such a hypocrite. I was coaching people on purpose, and they were saying, how do I find my purpose? And I was like, you have to dive into your childhood. Like, what was it that was the thing that you were doing in childhood that you just passed, time just passed for hours and hours? And they would say, oh, well, I used to look after animals. I used to really love dealing with animals. Oh, it turns out that that I want to be a vet, or I want to do this. But I was being such a hypocrite saying this to these people. I was like coaching these people. I wasn't truly, I loved helping people, but I wasn't truly feeling that it was what I needed to do. And then I was like, but hold on, what was I doing when I was a kid? I was, singing all the time. I was singing, and then I just quit everything. And everyone was like, what? I quit everything. And yeah, now I make music that to uplift, to uplift people as well. So it is, no matter what anyone says. And also surrender is a big deal. But I don't know about you, but I think that's going to be a huge topic.
When you
But
say
just surrender.
surrender, when you say surrender, what are we surrendering to? Are we surrendering to, um, are we letting go of our attention to what we're striving for, or our attachment to anything outside of us? Are we surrendering to just
I
ourselves?
I say surrender in the sense that sometimes like we have a because we are energetic spiritual beings, electric beings, but there is the physical human aspect of us, and the human physical aspect of us has this thing. It's the survival mode of wanting to know all the time what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next? It's the reason we go to psychics and healers and tarot readers and, read our horoscopes and go to see twin flame healers and people like this, because we want to know what's going to happen. But if you open your heart and you make that connection with the divine, then you could just surrender and just say, you know what? I feel so good. My vibration's so high.
Yeah, but I
know
don't need to know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Like, for real, that's how I live.
Yeah.
I'm not attaching myself to anything or any circumstance. I'm allowing myself to just be, and I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting that I'm being guided. When I speak, I know that the universe is speaking through me. I'm just a vessel,
Yeah.
and that's deep to even fathom. But
Yeah.
it's just the way that, for me, that's how I feel in terms of alignment and what I'm doing. I don't need to worry. Like, let go
Yeah.
of the worry and just trust yourself that every single day. And again, this comes back to feeling guided, like knowing
Yeah.
that you're going in the right direction. And I think that if you're not going in the right direction, if you're in a toxic relationship, if you're unhappy, if you're in a lower vibration, well, then you're not going to feel like you've surrendered, or you're not going to feel like you're going in the right direction because of how you're feeling, right? So that's why I say, man, like, a lot of the depression or anxiety that people are experiencing in life is because of their environment and where they're at in their life right now. It's like, man, there's a lot of toxic and dark energy around you that you've got to fuck off.
Yeah. But the starting point is always going to be you making that decision, because I had years back, I was in a relationship, and I had been in this relationship for about 4 years, and I loved this person dearly. I loved him dearly, but my heart was saying to me, I had really gotten deep into meditation, and my heart was saying, no, it's time for you to go. And I didn't want to hurt him. But my heart and my intuition was saying, you got to go. And he gave me an ultimatum. And he said to me, you need to tell me right now whether or not you're going to come back. Like, is it going to be a break if you're going to come back? And I was like, I really don't know. I just know that I have to leave, that this isn't right for me right now. And he said, well, if you don't tell me right now, I'm going to cut you off completely. And even if you want to come back, you won't be able to. I'm going to completely cut you off. And I remember speaking to this woman, this older kind of sage type lady. And I said, what should I do? Like, what's going to happen? And she said, that's the beauty of it. She said, just surrender. She said, if your heart is telling you, and this is the time, this is one of the times when I wasn't so reliant on my intuition and I wasn't surrendering. And she said, just follow your heart, follow your intuition. And so I went back to him and I said, listen, do what you have to do. I have to do what I have to do. And that is to leave. And I left, and actually me and that person, we are really good friends now and everything. But I felt a sense of the universe constantly through my life reminding me, surrender, surrender, trust me, the whole time, trust me. But people who are in anxiety all the time, they find it difficult to do this, because them knowing what's going to happen next is an attempt at feeling less anxiety, like, oh, I can relax because everything's going to be all right, because this person has told me this or they told me that. But they will never, ever find true peace if they're seeking that peace outside of them. It must come from within. It must come from that connection.
Yeah, I have to share just quickly before we touch on something that I want to ask you before we finish up. Something I learned from a speaker. He's known as the mind architect. His name's Peter Crone. And I learned a bit of information from him about the mind. And one of the things that he said that was just really profound was, you know, the past and the future is not real.
Mm.
And the reason why, for example, we are in an anxious state is because we're attaching ourselves constantly to something in the future, which is not real.
Yeah.
The only thing that's real is right now.
Yeah.
Right. The past and the future is not real. It's not. It's just we're here now. Right. So.
Yeah.
Right. And so what he was saying was, like, for example, a garden hose. For example, I would say, okay, when I move back to Sydney and I have my own apartment, I can't wait for that. Like, that's going to be the best. I'm going to have my independence. I'm going to have my own space. I'm not going to be living with my parents anymore. I'm going to buy myself a nice car, blah, blah, blah. And I would attach myself to that future circumstance, which would then make me not be content and happy in this present moment because I don't have that future thing, right?
Yeah.
That's going to make me more happy.
Yeah.
So when I was listening to this, I was like, damn, okay, straight up, there's nothing wrong with having ambitions. Okay. Nothing wrong with want to manifest whatever you're trying to manifest. But that mindset just brought me back to the present moment and made me realize, bro, you're getting lost in the past and the future, or not the past, but the future that hasn't even happened yet. It's not even real. And just hearing that was a shift in my mindset completely. Right. And then it made me a bit more aware about anxiety and the pressure that we put on ourselves. And this example of a garden hose. And when you turn on a garden hose, there's water gushing through the hose. And when you step on the hose, what happens? The water starts going even faster because there's more pressure. And so that's kind of the same thing with you living in the future, right? The more things that you add as expectations or circumstances that, you know, when I get this or when I have this, I'll be happy, whatever, you're putting pressure on yourself, which in turn, what's happening to your physiology is you're putting stress, you're putting your body under stress. And your body doesn't function. It's not in flow. It's not in harmony. It's not in balance because you're under pressure. So let go of that pressure, come back to the present moment and focus on the now, right? And trust yourself and let yourself just go. And I found that to be just revolutionary in my mindset because I didn't have to worry about anything anymore.
Exactly. And then when you start to see that you start to see the connection, so the correlation so much between how you are feeling and the things that the events that start to happen to you as a result of how you're feeling, you start to gain more confidence.
100%. I'm on fire. I'm not concerned. You just attract, like, listen, the one thing, Leona, that I love to share now, because last year I invested thousands of over $100,000 in a failed business venture. I was trying to start my business. It didn't work out. I got deceived, blah, blah, blah. And I remember having a conversation with my dad, and he was talking to me about all the money. And he's like, what about all the money? Like, can't you get the money back or whatever? And I just remember being at this level of peace because I gave not gave up on it, but just I let it go because I was like, it happened to me to teach me a lot of lessons, right? Even though it was so painful, depressing, it really screwed with my head. And I thought that I'm screwed. I thought, I'm done. Like, anyway, this conversation with him about the money. And I just said to my dad, I said, Dad, I don't have to worry about the money. I said, because I am the money. And I said, I don't need to worry about success because I am success. And that also made me realize that a lot of people are chasing the money. A lot of people are chasing success. A lot of people are chasing something outside of themselves instead of realizing that everything that you want is inside of you if you just took some time to build that connection with yourself. Because once you have that, then you attract everything that's meant for you in your life. And so when I
Yeah.
said that, I'm the success, and it just comes to me now, you know?
You know what? There's a saying there's a Jamaican saying, and it goes, "Wanty wanty na getty, and getty getty na wanty," and it means those that want get, don't want.
You just cut out there for a second. Can you repeat that?
Sorry, they're saying those who want and want will not get, but those who don't want will get. So it is that whole thing about being in lack. If you're chasing something, it is because you have a belief that you don't already have it.
And
Which,
yeah, that's so powerful. We talk. I
yeah,
coach my clients about this, about in relationships. Whatever you're fearing will happen to you is what you're going to attract,
yeah.
and
So
it's so powerful.
this is why I literally cringe when I hear women speaking bad about men. And I think that, you know, the feminist movement can be a little bit dangerous because it's full of so many negative stereotypes about men. And yes, I have had some experiences with men, but I maintained the whole way through. I think that men are beautiful, beautiful creatures. And I believe that I believe that men are not really given the props that they deserve. And I wrote a poem that's on my page actually, and it's just 2 lines, and it just says, "Kiss the man, where he carries mountains on his shoulders, but he holds flowers in his hands." And literally, that, like, a woman is known to be so nurturing, and with that, you know, with feminine or whatever it is, and we're artistic and whatever it is, we like to cook, all those stereotypes. But men have to be so strong, but at the same time they have to deal with the delicate things in their lives as well. Like, you have to deal with women, and there has to be this other side to you as well. And the men that do work on themselves and actually master it, it's a beautiful thing to watch. You know, it's a beautiful thing to see. And I don't think that men get enough credit for the work that they have to do, and especially men who do the work on themselves as well. You know, it's amazing. So yeah, big shout out to men.
I don't know if you're directing that compliment to me, but I'll take it.
Oh, yeah, you can have that too. You're doing
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. No, I receive it fully. Thank you. But I also big shout out to everyone the males that actually are doing the work or have invested
Yeah,
in themselves in terms of
not
reconnection.
easy.
And if you haven't, there's no judgment or discredit. Everybody's on their own path, and it's not my place
Exactly.
to tell you that you need to be a certain way or live a specific way. But it's about your conscience, both words,
Yeah,
consciousness and conscience.
yeah,
To make the discerned decisions in your life of what you feel connected to and move in that direction. So it is very powerful. Vulnerability is a superpower. As you more, expose your truth, everything you reveal, you heal, which is
yeah,
phenomenal. But I want to leave with one question to you, because I know that this is massive in terms of relationships, healing.
yeah,
For example, I haven't been in a relationship in terms of a exterior body, a
yeah,
physical person being connected with me. I'm in a relationship with myself for the
yeah,
last 3 years. And
yeah,
I'm very content. It's going over 3 years now, but there's been a lot of discussions, a lot of posts that I post on Facebook, for example, and people, do you fully heal yourself before you open the door for another relationship to enter your life? Or do you get to a certain stage of healing in your life and then you allow someone to come in? Or are you always open because you might attract someone who understands your trauma and they also have trauma, and you can work on each other, you can help each other during the journey? What is your take on that? Because I know there's some people out there that say you have to fully be healed before you can go into another relationship, especially if you come from a toxic relationship. and you want to work on yourself. And it's like, some people say you have to keep going and completely be fully healed before you can be in another relationship. My take on it is that I made a choice to just be in a relationship with myself, because over the last 15 years or whatever, I was in and out. And I was like, hey, I
Yeah.
want to spend some time with me. Okay.
Yeah.
But now I've got to a place of peace and contentment. And I'm like, well, if something comes along, I'm open.
Yeah.
Right. But I truly
Yeah.
believe that you're never, ever going to fully heal. I get triggered still.
I agree with you 100%. And I know it may sound crazy, but I'm not just agreeing with you for the sake of agreeing with you. I was asking myself the same question, especially when there was this whole thing of the whole twin flame thing that was running around. And I was like, well, hold on, you're telling people that when they're fully healed, then they can unite with people. But who on this planet claims to be fully healed from everything in their life? I don't know anyone. And the thing is,
Because that's saying you're perfect.
it is, but also as well, there is so much beauty, like there's so much beauty in two people coming together, and where partner A's blind spots are is where partner B sees, and where partner B sees, partner A has blind spots, and you pulling each other up and pushing each other. There's so much beauty in that dance as well. Why would you, number one, why would you want to deprive yourself of that? It's like, oh no, I'm good. It's like to say you're going to come to someone perfect and you don't have any issues and you both don't have anything to fix. Like for me, that's, I think there are some things you should address. Like there are some people who are still, they're still not in their heart yet. And so this whole thing of men only think about sex, for example, or this person, I saw a post the other day and this woman was saying, she said, pardon my French, I'm a horny, bee kind of thing. And for her, it was, it was fine that she just needed sex. And that was that. And my take and my understanding from that, and some people do have, some people do have high sex drives, but I think that's something that should be explored on an emotional level. That, are you sure that it's not something in your past that are you not trying to fill a void with something there? You're just passing it off and saying, oh, I'm just like this, and so I do this thing here. But is it not maybe that you are trying to fill a void, or something needs healing that you haven't dealt with? And I think maybe those are things that you need to address before getting into a relationship. But I think if you feel at a point where you feel whole within yourself, where you don't feel lonely, where you know your path, where you're okay to spend time with yourself. In fact, you enjoy spending time by yourself, and you know that coming with someone, you already feel at your best. You already feel good. You might not feel healed on all levels, but you feel like really good. This person is supposed to come in and you're both supposed to skyrocket as a result of you coming together. This person is supposed to share perspectives with you maybe you didn't consider, and you think, I didn't think of this before, and you inspire each other. So I would agree with you that once you get to a point where you feel good, I say, if you still feel hurt from your past relationship, if you are still angry with your ex or exes, or if you have a particular perception of yourself or the gender that you're trying to be with, I'd say leave it alone, because you're just going to project. But if you don't, you've got to trust the universe that is just going to send you somebody that's going to trigger the hell out of you to heal that anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're running around saying that all men are dogs, universe is going to hook you up.
Yeah, I think and it's very important. Yeah, if you're running around with that kind of resentment or pain, you're just going to attract more of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, very powerful. And I just want to take this moment, Leona, to extend my gratitude to you just for this experience, sharing this space, your time, your energy. One thing that I always say is that energy is currency, and it's and my energy is very expensive, and I protect my energy. I don't give it away very
Yeah.
easily unless it's reciprocal, unless it's I say, when you give, you open the door to receive, and I'm very mindful of that. And just sharing this
Yeah.
space with you has been very healing and transformative. And you're a very powerful woman. You're a very powerful light. I can see the energy projecting from you just as you sit there, which is phenomenal. It's just been a blessing to share this moment with you and learn from you. And I'm very grateful for your time and everything that you've shared. I know that we could probably go on for another 3-4 hours, but it's really been a blessing to kind of get to know you a little bit better. I really, truly believe that the universe has aligned us for reasons that have already manifested, and for maybe future circumstances that I'm not aware of yet, or that you're not aware of yet. And I'm super excited for that. And it's just a blessing to connect with you and to share this time. So yeah, thank you so much.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me. And I'm just really, I'm really, really excited about the work you're doing. I'm really excited, even now, because I know you're going through another shift again. I can see that you're going through another shift now. It's like there's even another level of awareness for you. So I'm excited to see where you're going to go with that. And likewise, I feel absolutely blessed to connect with you. I'm really grateful. And yeah, just keep up the good work. You're doing good things here.
Thank you. And guys, can I just help you understand this? Okay. Surround yourself with people that complement your life, people that want to see you grow and be that better version of yourself, and lift you up and encourage you and believe in you, just like this amazing woman. Did you hear what she just said to me? Because if you didn't, I'll tell her to repeat it. No, but I'm just saying, man, she just lifted me up. She just lifted me up. She just said, wow, I can see a new level of awareness. I can, it's like basically she's saying, Luke, I believe in you so much, you have no idea. And just keep going on your path. And that's phenomenal. And this is the kind of people that you want to have in your freaking life. And that's why I tell everyone, join the Dream Chasers Facebook, which is my Facebook group. I don't know if Leona's in there, but she's definitely going to be in there.
Yeah, I'll get in there.
But, that's why I say, man, surround yourself with the right people, because when you're in a toxic environment, it affects the spirit of your energy.
Yeah.
And this is how you grow, man, when you have amazing people around you. So, Leona, it's been a blessing. Thank you so much for coming on the Luke Mind Power Show. Sending you so much love, and we'll stay in touch. And I hope that
Right,
everybody
thank
enjoyed this
you.
episode. Thank you so much.
Okay.